everybody. It's Dwayne again. I hope you had a good week. We're here tonight with lesson 21, Relapse. And, last week was lesson 20, obviously, 1 minus 21. And, we talked about doing a journal, and we talked about, doing a daily inventory, and then we talked about doing a periodic check or periodic inventory of your inventory, so to speak, which was basically looking for patterns in your journal that are repetitive, and so that it can help you focus on the things in your life that were repeating that was causing damage in your life. Well, this week we're going to be talking about relapse. Not that we want you to relapse or anything like that, but tis the season, so to speak. I mean, we're here at the end of October, 1st of November here pretty soon, and a lot of people really struggle during the holidays, and that's people that are, don't have that aren't alcoholics, but people that are alcoholics certainly have more difficulty during the holidays for various reasons. We'll talk about some of those reasons, but tis the season to try to go back to some of the things that you used to cope before with different tragedies and hurts and things in your life. And some tools to try to help overcome that and keep that from happening to you. Okay, we're starting with principle 7, which was the same principle we had the last couple of weeks, which says reserve a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer in order to know God and His will for my life and to gain the power to follow His will. And then step 11, which is what we're on this week, says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And the corresponding verse that goes with that is Colossians 3:16, which says, let the message of Christ dwell among you richly. And, we talked about God and Christ a lot in that step and in that principle. And so 'tis the season to get God and Christ more involved in your life and help you in this journey, because so many things hurt people during the holidays, so to speak. I mean, like, here's some examples here. We got it's just October and we have Halloween coming up, and that's probably not a big deal to people, although some people that are probably their kids are grown, they have the empty nest thing going on, so they see other kids coming around, from other younger families, so to speak, but their kids may not be there, and so they miss that, and so that might cause some emotional, things going on there that would possibly have a stronger indication that, pushing towards a relapse to this or that or whatever it is that the issue could be that you're using to cope. So, here we go, bad memories from previous holidays. Maybe some holidays when you were a child, maybe they weren't so pleasant. Maybe your father or mother were alcoholics, or maybe, you had a lot of family fights around that time of year. Maybe you didn't get presents because, there was financial difficulties, or the parents were blowing the money, or maybe you didn't feel loved, and maybe you don't understand what all the why everybody's so excited about the holidays, because you never really had very good experiences during the holidays. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this causes extra pressure on people, getting around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so maybe you had a recent loss of loved ones, maybe someone that you spent many Christmases with and many Thanksgivings with. Maybe they passed away within the last few years, and maybe there's more than one person. Maybe you're the last of the family, so to speak, and so all the ones that were there for you all those years, maybe they have already passed and gone away. And so then you've got then you had a family, but you're going to be alone for the holidays, because your family's all moved off in different states, and everyone else is dead, and so you're going to be alone with pictures, basically, and Budweiser, so to speak. So, and then So anyway, as you can tell, you know, sometimes it's the very fact that you're going to see some family that causes the problem. So it can go both ways. Sometimes it's because you don't have family there anymore because they're all gone somewhere, whether, you know, be they're deceased or they've moved away, or they just don't have time for you. But the other side of it is that you have such big internal family conflicts and drama all the time, and people that have just hurt you in the past in more ways than you can imagine. Maybe you've hurt them back, or maybe you didn't hurt them back. But you know, it's coming up on this time of year, and you know it's coming where you're going to have to see them and talk to them. And just seeing them and talking to them causes a lot of internal stress sometimes. And instead of facing that head on and wanting to make amends and put the past in the past, and are trying to get in a situation where what they say and what they do doesn't bother you anymore. You know, you take all this stuff inside, and then you cope by different various means. You know, whether it's drinking or drugs, or just going back to work and working all the time, or doing stuff that keeps you busy, you know, busy work, you know, where you don't have time to think about anything else except for, you know, basically things that aren't going to help you get over those hurts and so forth. And so there's different ways, you know, people deal with this, and a lot of times, unfortunately, it is drinking. You know, a lot of people grow out of the drug phase if they were ever in it to begin with, but drinking, alcoholism stays behind, and so as they get older, you know, the drinking starts increasing the closer it comes to Christmas, and the closer it comes to Thanksgiving, that the drinking steadily starts increasing every week, and then starts tapering back off a little bit after the holidays are over. And so there's a lot of reasons for all that. But so anyway, you got family issues that you got to face. You got the empty nest thing going on. So you're not going to see anybody. You know, and the other side is you're going to see people, and you don't want to see them, or you're afraid there's going to be conflict, so there's anxiety. So you're drinking to get away from that anxiety, okay? And so, you know, it's just a season that you've got to be on guard. And the way you're on guard is you get closer to God, and you ask for God's help through the process. And you know, maybe you're just beginning your journey, and you haven't quit whatever it is that's holding you back in life. You're still working on that, and maybe you're fairly new at quitting whatever it is, and so you're still right there, kind of riding the fence on the edge of the cliff, and just anything can push you off, so to speak. You know, because you haven't been off of whatever it is long enough to really have that habit, better habits ingrained in your mind, and so it's easy to get back on the old path again. So, you know, here's the thing. Here's some things. 'Tis the season, okay? 'Tis the season that you're gonna have to pray and be diligent, you know, and be extra careful to be on your guard to relapse. So, you know, be on your guard. Just be on your guard. You know, pray to God. You know, read your Bible. Go to church. Get around positive people. Stay away from negativities if you can during this season. And you know, if you like listening to Christmas music, listen to it. If Christmas music makes you sad, or turn it off. I mean, you know, get you through the season, okay? And spend more time. You know, the most important thing is spending more time with God through this season. And it's, you know, 'tis a season, you know, which is representative, not Santa and present, so to speak, but representative of what God did for us, and how He reached out to us, you know, to help us in our lives, and to save us, so to speak, from, you know, the tragedies of life, so to speak, and going down those dark paths, and helping us be in the light, get in the light, stay in the light, and stay out of the dark valleys as much as possible, you know. But if we do end up there, giving us the strength to survive those dark valleys, because things do happen. things happened in the past, things are happening now, and things will happen in the future. There's no doubt about it. Some will be good, some will be bad, but your close relationship with God is going to determine how you handle, some of these things, and whether or not you have peace or you don't have peace. Okay, God can bring you peace. I mean, there may be total upheaval and chaos in the world, but God can give you peace. Okay, and He can put love in your heart, even though there's hate all in the world. God can put love in your heart despite all of that. Okay, and you just have to get closer to Him and ask for that you want this love, and you may not know what love is. Maybe you lived a life where you just never really experienced love before, and if you don't know what love is or have never been loved, it's hard for you to learn how to love, and it's hard to see God. Okay, because you've never been loved, you don't know what love is. So there's a lot of philosophers that will tell you or have said basically that the gist of it is, we see what we have experienced already, so to speak, and it's not an intuitive kind of thing. It's an experience kind of thing. And so if you've never experienced love, try to try to find that in life, and then you'll be able to see God more in everything in the world, instead of seeing, if you just experience upheaval and chaos, and that's what you used to been seeing, then you don't really know the difference. Okay, you need to experience love, and that way you'll strive for love. If you don't know what it is, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you, and I'll pray for you. But anyway, I tell you, it's kind of like Relapse is like this shirt I've got on here. Okay, see, it's white, right? And there's a lot of, there's a verse where basically, it talks about God, our sins being red as crimson, and God making us as white as snow. But on this earth, we can, if we just pretend that it symbolizes, our purity, so to speak, and our cleanliness, and our ability to overcome the things that are dragging us down, then we must know that, occasionally we slip up. Okay, and sometimes we have to wash our shirt, and it's just a continual process while we're here on this earth. While we're alive, that our shirt gets soiled and dirty, and we have to rewash it. And from an analogy standpoint, this is something that we may relapse and fall back and have to do on a more regular basis. And then, later on down the road, as we improve our habits and improve things, we get to where we don't have to wash that shirt as much. But I'll give you an example. Sometimes we think we wash our shirt, and then we actually mess up our shirt. It depends on who we're washing our shirt with, right? And that goes back to, the line of thought of, we are our habits, we become our habits, and we are our habits. That which we do, that's who we are. But you can also say those who we hang around with, that's who we are as well. If we're not that way to begin with, we will be sooner or later, because they have a powerful impact on us. So, but recently I washed this shirt, and I'm gonna tell you, it's not white. I want you to see that, which is kind of funny in a way, but it's kind of a symbol of what we go through in life. Okay, our washing skills are imperfect, so to speak. I mean, apparently there was something else in the washing machine, maybe a red shirt or bath cloth or something that stained my white shirt. So I think that's a pretty well proof that while we're on this earth, we're not going to be completely pure. Okay, at least we might have our moments where we have pure thoughts, and then other times where they're not so pure. Okay, so, and that's just part of life, and part of being here. But the key is to try to improve our path to get on the higher ground where we have better views, and we're basically improving our lives and improving the lives of those around us, and in doing so improving the community we're in, and in doing so improving the state we're in, and in doing so improving the entire country we're in, and in doing that improving hopefully the entire world. Now, you think that you don't have a lot of impact just being one person, but I think if there was ever a true review of your life, and there probably will be one day, you'll see that you do make a difference, okay, either, positive or negative. And so, of course, clearly everyone wants to be a positive influence in life, and so, and that's what you want your legacy to be, is that you were a positive force in this life and not a destructive force, not self-destructive or destructive to others. So you want to be a sustaining life force, so to speak, and not be destructive. You want to make things better for people, and that doesn't necessarily mean giving them everything they want and spoiling them. It means teaching them, giving them the tools that's going to help them be able to stand on their own, because you're not going to be here always. And so you want them to have the tools where they can survive, without you. And society's changing. I've seen that, and in my lifetime, and I've studied history, and I know how things can go south, and we pray that they go north, okay. But anytime everybody turns to self and just selfishness, and don't look out for their neighbors, so to speak, and turn to a life that's not really on stable ground, and if enough people do that, then things can get rough. But the key is, with God on your side, even if everything is going bad around you, things can be good in your life. Things can be good in your heart. You can have peace in your heart and peace in your mind. And so that's what you're going for, okay? And God can give that to you. And I'm going to talk, because temptation is an amazing thing, okay? It's I'm going to go over this verse here, or these verses, so to speak, but basically the story of where Satan tempted Jesus, okay? I think that's an important one, and I'm going to end on that tonight. But basically, Matthew 4, 1 through 11 talks about the story of Jesus being tempted by Satan. And it basically says that Jesus was led into the wilderness to be tempted by Satan. For 40 days and 40 nights he ate nothing and became very hungry. So basically this was a way of him trying to purify himself so that he could get closer to God. And look, 40 days, and that's a long time, so, that gives you a lot of time. You're not cooking, you're not, I don't know, it was just something that was done back then. You don't see fasting done as much nowadays. But then he ate nothing, so he was very hungry. Obviously, a lot of us are very hungry after just one day of not eating, right? So, I can remember when I was younger, I would fast for a weekend sometimes, and by Monday I was pretty hungry. So Satan come along and said, look, to prove you are the Son of God, you can turn these stones into bread and you can eat. So here he is in the wilderness. There's no food. He doesn't have a weapon. They didn't have guns back then, and maybe he didn't have the skills to kill a rabbit with a stick or something or whatever. But whatever the case, he was fasting anyway, so that was his goal. It wasn't, because he couldn't get food. Although it was probably harder to get food because he was out in the wilderness. So he's out there, he's not eating in 40 days, and Satan says, well, you're the Son of God, so you can prove it to yourself even though he didn't need that proof. But he said, you can turn these stones into bread and you can eat. And then Jesus said, no, for the scriptures tell us that bread won't feed men's souls. Obedience to every word of God is what we need. So basically, we get more substance from God's word and more improvement in our lives than the food can give us, okay? So then Satan said, he took him to Jerusalem. So he's out of the wilderness, so now he's back in Jerusalem, okay? So he's there in Jerusalem where there's people and there's nice buildings. We're talking about the big city of that age, okay? and he takes him to the roof of the temple where he can see a big, huge view of everything. And he says, jump off, jump off. And, you know that you're the sons of God will save you and not let you die. It's not your time, in other words. Prove you're the Son of God. And Jesus retorted. I didn't even know that word until 6 or 7 years ago. But he says, prove you're the Son of God, jump off. And Jesus retorted. It also says not to put the Lord your God to a foolish test. So in other words, don't just try to put God in a situation or get yourself in a situation where you're trying to prove. In other words, it'd be like, driving your car 80 miles an hour during a curvy county road. Don't put God to the test, okay? That's foolish. Don't do that. We're going, without doing stupid things like that, we're going to come just by default, because time brings things to us. We're going to bring things that are going to put our lives at risk already. So don't increase the risk. So don't put God to a foolish test. And so then Satan took him to the very peak of a high mountain and showed him all the nations around from the highest peak. And he saw everything, and he knew there was people in these places and all these nations. And he said, I'll give it to you only if you kneel and worship me. Okay. So, Jesus was an humble person. So a lot of the people in powerful positions didn't respect him because he was an humble person. He didn't wear the fine, super clothes. He didn't drive the Porsche, so to speak, of the day, or the chariot of the day, or whatever, they were driving around. Probably not even the donkey of the day, he was a very humble person, despite he was a very powerful force that could heal people, heal the sick, and make the blind see and make the deaf hear. He could do all these things that others couldn't do, but he was very humble about it. And the powerful people just, they don't seem to have respect for that. They want to see, what they see, and to elevate people. So for whatever reason, he had the power within him to do all these things, but he chose not to. And that's a powerful thought in itself, because the certain strengths that you have and powers that you have, so to speak, to do certain things, and it doesn't mean that it's right to do those things. Okay. And so also something else to notice is that Satan tempted Jesus with things that were in front of him, things that he was capable of. Satan knew that Jesus could turn that rock into bread. He already knew that. And so it's not like Satan was telling me, hey, turn that rock into bread. I'll be like, what are you, crazy or something? I can't do that, And same thing with jumping off the building. He knew that God would save him. He knew it wasn't his time to die, and that and Jesus knew that. He knew that if he jumped, that Jesus would save him. But he also knew that it wasn't time, and he for him to die, and he knew that he didn't need to be testing God like this. He had enough faith to know it without having to test it, so to speak. And then the ultimate thing is, he was on that high mountain. He had it within him to, be king over the world. And so he knew he had that power in him to do that. All he had to do was change his routine up a little bit to get what he wanted, or what Satan was trying to tempt him to want, so to speak. But he also knew that wasn't the God's will, and that wasn't his path, at that time, in time. And so here's the thing, as far as relapse and everything, the devil's not going to tempt you with things that are not within your reach. He's going to tempt you with things that are well within your reach, okay? Or things that will take very little effort on your part to get within your reach. And it may, it's no telling, what that is, because each person is, different as far as what that is. And so, A couch potato, isn't going to be probably tempted for anything except for right there near the couch, maybe a bag of nachos or something, or soda pops, or a case of beer, sitting beside him. But people that get out there and are around the public are going to be exposed to many other different things, and so. It's not right to brag and say, well, that never tempts you if it's not within your reach of being tempted by, so to speak. I mean, so certain things will come around. Satan will bring certain things around people that he knows are capable of being tempted by those things. So, but you see how Jesus handled it, okay? Just because he had those things within his power, and that he knew God could bring that to him, he also stood firm, and it didn't tempt him. Now, we will be tempted. We're humans, and granted, Satan knew what was there, that Jesus was capable of. So he knew what to try to tempt him with, but he also knows what to try to tempt you with. And so, if it's within your reach and you know that, and then that's what you're going to be tempted with. And so anyway, as the holiday season comes up, just be on your guard, okay? Remember we talked about don't be arrogant about, the success that you've made in your recovery, or putting things behind you, because you're always going to have crossroads coming up in your life. And during the holidays, for a certain percentage of the population, there's going to be added pressure on you, and so you just have to be extra careful. And some of this is these people that you don't want to see or whatever during the holidays that bring up bad memories. Some of this is about asking God for strength and to give you strength to be able to, instead of turning to the bottle or turning towards chasing women or turning towards basically seclusion, or hiding from people, to give you the strength to be able to face these things, instead of running from them, because it's the running that's making you turn the bottle up, and it's the running that's making you go to work and work 100 hours a week, and it's the running that's making you become antisocial, so to speak, and staying away from people during the holidays, and it's the running that's causing you to do things that's numbing your emotions and numbing your senses. And when you numb these things, you're not allowing yourself to feel these things and to be able to conquer these things, okay? So anyway, with that, I'm going to just say that I'm wishing you the best. We've got 2 more months here in this year, October, November, December, yep, 2 more months, a little over 2 more months. And so that's a good little time that you have to be careful between now and December, and until the Christmas holidays are over. So, I'm praying for you. Best thing I can tell you is to be aware of your enemy, okay? Be aware of your enemy, and to, so that you're not blinded, okay? So that you're not caught by surprise, because it's the surprises that is going to probably give you an increased risk to relapse. And so you've come a long way, so you don't want to relapse. So you want to be able to know your enemy, understand it, and know how to say no. Basically when Satan tempts you, know how to say no. And there's a lot of power in those 2 letters, N-O, no, and this is why, no, and you've got your journal, and you know where you were 5 years ago, and so you have all these reasons why you say no, and you know why no needs to be no. And so anyway, with that, I'm going to wish you a good week, and I will see you next time. I'm praying for you, and I hope you're praying for me, and I will see you next time.